I want you to feel lonely. What an odd way to begin a sermon, but I do. I want you to feel lonely. Not, God forbid, all of the time, but sometimes, because feeling lonely is a healthy emotion. So tonight, in addition to congregants and friends who are joining us, we have our soon-to-graduate sixth graders and their families. And I'd like to share 5 thoughts as you graduate, but they're not just directed to our graduates and their families, they're directed to any Jew, all of our congregants, those who are joining us online. So why is it healthy to feel lonely? In a recent article in The Atlantic Monthly, Derek Thompson wrote the following, a title of a piece that he called The Anti-Social Century. He writes that Americans are now spending more time alone than ever. And he defines alone as being physically the only one in the room. So people are spending more time alone than ever. And yet, and this is the great irony and so important, they don't feel lonely. They're physically alone but they don't feel lonely because they're on their computer, they're on their phone, they're on Instagram. They are alone, but they don't feel lonely. You see, the reason it's good to feel lonely is because then you seek out other people. In the past, when some of us were younger, we were kids, when we felt lonely, what did we do? We went out in the yard to play. We called a friend. We got together. Or when we got a little older, we met at the coffee shop. We met at Starbucks or Coffee Bean or Pete's. Now we don't do that. We do the drive-through. We go in and we order online, and we don't even say hello or acknowledge the person because we don't need to. It's all under our last name. You go in and you pick up the package. And depression is at its highest level in decades among teenagers who are so well connected and ironically so depressed. And that's why a little loneliness is good, because it may motivate you to seek out other people. And we need people. Physically in our lives, we need people. Which leads me to my second thought. It's related, but it's different. The importance of creating lasting relationships. I want to suggest to all of you young people, indeed to all of us, we need to have a best friend. And for me, a best friend is someone with whom not only we spend time with, but someone who we can share anything with. Someone you trust. Someone who has similar values to help you navigate through the ups and downs of life. Someone who will praise you when you do the right thing, but also cares enough about you that when you don't do the right thing, that they can be critical of you, or when they think you've made a mistake or handled something in a relationship inappropriately, can say to you, you know what, you didn't treat that person very well. If you have such a person in your life and someone with whom you can do the same for them, you have a best friend. In Pirkei Avot, in the Talmud, there's a teaching that says, acquire for yourself a friend. It's interesting, it doesn't say acquire many friends, although we would all agree, we would all agree it's important to have a lot of people in our lives. But what we really need in addition is a friend or two who is our best friend, who we can share the ups and downs of life with, and who elevates us and makes us a better person. Which leads me to my third thought: stay away from drugs. Now, I don't mean the drugs you may be thinking of. We all agree that mind-altering drugs are not necessarily good for us. But I'm speaking about another kind of drug. The drug of fame and of chasing fame. It's become a drug, an addiction in this society. It's very worrisome to me, and social media has exacerbating it. Chasing fame can harm your sense of morality, it can destroy your psyche, and it can harm your soul. And it is deeply addictive. It is the goal of many people today, and frankly, some not so young. The goal is to be famous. Famous for what? It doesn't matter. I just want to be famous. I want to be an influencer. Why do people chase fame? I think it's because they want to matter. Many people think that fame means I matter or I'm important. It's healthy to want to matter, by the way, in life. That's a good thing. But the things that ultimately matter are raising good children, caring for other people, helping those in need, motivating others to do good, living for a higher purpose. That is what matters. You may not be famous, but you will be significant. And significance is much more important than fame. I want to say that 100 times. Significance is much more important than fame. How many of you remember who Millard Fillmore was? Millard Fillmore was the President of the United States. He was the most famous person in the world, and most people don't remember his name. But you remember the name of people who shaped you into good human beings, who influenced your life, who were good friends, who cared about you, who made you better. That is ultimately what we should chase. Which leads me to my fourth thought: try to avoid jealousy and envy. Almost all of us know someone who has a cooler car, a nicer home, goes on more elaborate vacations, has a better job, maybe even better relationships. The list goes on, and it's natural to want to have what other people have. We want it for ourselves. And by the way, sometimes that's good because it can motivate us to try to go for those things, to live a life that will encourage us to be and grasp those things that we want. But living a life of envy is a prescription for unhappiness. And one of the ways to avoid envy, and it's not so easy to do, but it's really simple to understand, the way to avoid envy is to focus on what you do have and not what you don't have. Every day we should remind ourselves we have a home because others do not. Most of you have a car. Some do not. Some people have the privilege of going on a modest vacation. We live in a free society. Most of the world historically never has, and much of the world today does not. If you focus on what you do have and not on what you don't have, you are far less likely to be envious. And here's something else. You'll have a far deeper sense of gratitude. And you know what gratitude is? It's the mother of happiness, and it will allow each of us to celebrate the success of other people. That is what jealousy and envy take away from us, and that's what focusing on what we do have gives us the ability to do. Celebrate the success of other people. Which leads me to my final thought. Pursue your Judaism. This is for everyone, but if I may, I want to direct this especially to our 6th grade graduates and their parents as you come to this next step in your lives. Your parents sent you to a Jewish school. So Judaism is obviously important to them. And it's true, frankly, for all of us who are here tonight, all of us watching. Judaism has importance in our lives. This week, we begin the book of Numbers, and it's called Numbers in English because the first chapters are all about taking an accurate census, a census. And that teaches us that every human being, every soul is unique, and every soul is important, and that every single person has a contribution to make. But the Hebrew name for this book of the Torah is Bamidbar, which means in the wilderness. And that's because that's where the Israelites are. They're in the wilderness on their way to the promised land. And it is in this book of the Torah that they learn even more, the Israelites learn even more, the role that they will play on this earth. And that's the question that every single one of us has to ask. What role will Judaism play in our lives? So I want to say to the parents of our children here, thank you for choosing the Wise School. And to our children, you have been given a foundation in general studies and in Jewish Judaica that will help propel you forward to live as a person and as a Jew. And I have a hope for every single one of you for whom this may be your last child who is graduating our school. I hope the temple will take on an even more significant role in your life and in the life of your children. We want you here. We want you to continue to be a part of this congregation. I often make the case, and many of us do, to parents who are considering the Wise School, that among the many advantages that being here gives you, is you're part of Stephen Wise Temple. You're part of a congregation. Every Jew needs a spiritual and moral Jewish home. You need rabbis. You need cantors. I need rabbis and cantors. And I hope that this place will continue to be your Jewish home, where you will learn about Judaism and experience your Judaism and express your Judaism individually and as a family. When we invest ourselves in our temple, we are saying to our children, I am part of our community, where our family will share the joys of Judaism, celebrate, yes, at times mourn, but this is our spiritual home. In fact, and I want to share this with you, sixth graders, it turns out that later this week, I see that the Zweibacks are here. Jacqueline and Rabbi Yoshi Zweiback are obviously here. You're hosting this Thursday night some 20 students who are at universities are coming to your home to have dinner with you. I hope that 7 or 8 years from now, I'm going to invite them. Is that okay? 7 or 8 years from now, you're invited to the Zweiback home for dinner. But by the way, that's what it means to be a part of a community. You never leave it. Don't leave us. Be a part of this community for the rest of your life. If you speak to members of this temple who've been members 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, some of them are here tonight, they will tell you things like, we started here because of our children, but we stayed here because we made our friends here. This is our home. I'll close with this thought. Sunday night begins the holiday of Shavuot, where we commemorate and celebrate God giving the Torah, our receiving it from God. And should you join us for services on Sunday night, on Monday morning here, one thing I can comfortably say, you will not feel lonely. In fact, some people may be just a little bit envious of you, but that's okay, you never know. You just might meet a future best friend. Shabbat Shalom.